Hey everybody, NicMakesPlays here, and I've hit Master Rank 1 every single season, and today I want to go over what I think are the top 5 best decks for Ranked in Legend of Runeterra. We just had a new patch where they nerfed Go Hard, and we're having another patch in February, but I decided maybe I'll make this a regular thing where every time we have a new patch, I say, okay guys, if you want to rank up, if you want to hit rank 1, you want to hit Masters, Diamond, Gold, Platinum, whatever your goal is, then I can just try and tell you what I personally think are the best decks in the game and the best deck for Ranked. So we'll start off with Zoe Ezreal Plaza. Zoe Ezreal Plaza is, in my opinion, the best deck in the entire game. It has no direct losing matchups. Its worst matchup was Go Hard, but they just nerfed it. And I think it's around evenish now. So that's the closest it has to a straight up losing matchups. I think that most matches around even. I do have to give credit. I didn't make this deck myself. This concept is made by Bruce by God, so I want to make sure I gave a shout out to him because this is his deck card for card. So it runs Zoe isn't really there as like a level up. You don't really try and get the level up Zoe. You should play her on turn 1. Attack, get some advantage, and the super cool star charts can get Crescent Strike. So against other Plaza decks, you have Crescent Strike just on their units. You have Equinox to stop their challenger off their Plaza in the mirror match as well, and they have to remove her basically. The deck basically is a Grand Plaza deck, Invoke. It's pretty well rounded, has a lot of healing, really hard to beat, and the healing allows you to get to the end game with Early Soul, and that's how you win. But you can win off Grand Plaza, you can win off the Invokes, you can win off Lane. So it's pretty much just a really well-rounded deck. It has answers to everything via Hush and single combat and the Invoking. So this deck's just pretty well-rounded. The other decks today I'm going to go over, I think, could have like a bad matchup or two. This is the only one I think is no bad matchups that I'm directly aware of. And it definitely beats a lot of decks. Like it hard beats Scouts, but it's close to everything else. I feel that this deck's just really well-rounded. It's not oppressive like Go Hard. Like Go Hard was insanely strong. This deck's actually very fair and beatable. It's just well-rounded. It's just very well-rounded, which makes it so strong. No clear weaknesses. The next deck I have is Ezreal Draven. This deck is extremely strong versus Plaza decks, so it can hold its own against the Zoe Asol Targon Plaza we just saw. It beats Scouts straight up, and it's just a really strong deck that puts on a lot of pressure and then finishes with Captain Farron or leveled up Ezreal to deal all kinds of damage in one turn. Ravenous Flock's really strong. Sentry is good against Grand Plaza, which is going to be a lot of the portion of the meta. This is just one of the best decks in the games because it's position-wise. It beats Fiora Shen really bad. It beats Scouts really bad. It does well versus Targon Plaza. Its only downside is that it has a slight losing matchup to Lee Sin, and that's important. But besides that, this deck's the second strongest in the game, or third. I think this and Lee Sin both have some perks, and we'll go over Lee Sin in a second. But yeah, basically, in short, you can use Ballistic Bot and stuff like that to generate advantage, and you can discard the cards with Rummage or some Dredger to draw cards, and you just have removal for everything. You have Scorched Earth to deal with Grand Plaza. You have Sentry to control the field. It's basically really hard to put on a lot of pressure against Draven Ezreal. For example, discard aggro, or any form of aggro really. You'd think they have a good matchup against this deck because it has no healing at all, but they all lose. This deck destroys discard aggro just because it has so many answers to all kinds of things. So much removal, and then it just plays Captain Farron and then can win from there. Captain Farron being 80th Overwhelm, that gives you 3 Decimates, so potentially 20 damage with his stats plus the Decimates. But yeah, really strong well-rounded deck. I'd recommend it. It's a fun mid-range style. The reason you play Draven Ezreal over Swain Ezreal is Swain Ezreal is a lot more passive, whereas Draven can put on a lot of pressure and can play more aggressive if needed to be in certain matchups that can't deal with the pressure. And the axes also just generate a lot of discard fodder for Rummage and some Dredger. But yeah, very strong deck. All right, the next deck, this is the debatably second best deck. It's tied with Draven Ezreal, is Zoe Lee Sin. This deck's really strong. I mean, Lee Sin's just phenomenal right now, and Targon has a lot going for them. They have Sparkle Fly. If you don't draw Lee Sin, you can start buffing that. They have Hush to deal with all kinds of threats. They have Notify. They have Deny. It's just a war on the deck that can kill in one turn with Lee Sin. Zoe here actually can level up. You play Zoe just to get the invokes and the options again to get Equinox and draw cards and all kinds of stuff, Moon Silver, and it's very easy to get carried away with Zoe if they can't answer her, but this deck has a lot of protection. It has things like Hush to stop their challengers for Zoe, it has Concussive Palm to stop their attacks for Zoe, it has Deny and Notify, protect Zoe. You can also buff her with Mentor the Stones and the Gems. It's like a lot of healing between Guiding Touch, Eye the Dragon. Pretty much very round the deck, and then you play Lee Sin, you can just win in one turn. If you don't already know, then you play Zenith Blade on him, which gives him Overwhelm. And then if he has Overwhelm in his level up form, he Dragon Rages his enemy, and it hits the ally into it attacks their Nexus and the unit, but since he's Overwhelmed, the attacking unit goes direct damage because the recall removes the enemy, and then there's nothing left to block, and then the overwhelm goes through. Basically, if you have a 10 attack Lee Sin, he's leveled up, you attack an enemy, it does 20 damage. So it's just a extremely well-rounded combo deck. This deck is very good versus pretty much everything. It beats Ezreal Draven, but it's slightly weaker to Scouts. I'd say it's maybe overall the second best deck, actually, just because Ezreal Draven's a bit more popular than Scouts, and there's a few things that beat Scouts. But yeah, this deck's really strong, and I think it's a cool, different way to play. Again, it's a combo deck. The ones we saw before were both mid-range, so this is a unique playstyle. Okay, next up, we've been talking about it, it's Scouts. Scouts are really good. I think the decks we went over previously, the Targon Demacia, the Lee Sin Zoe, and the Ezreal Draven, those are tier 1 decks. This is going to tier 2. I think that those previous 3 are the only tier 1 decks. This is going to tier 2. I think this is the very top of tier 2. It's a pretty strong deck, but it loses to Ezreal Draven, and it loses to Targon Demacia, and Lee Sin can beat it, but I think it's slight favor against Lee Sin. But still, top of tier 2, very strong, beats most decks that aren't tier 1. But this deck just utilizes Misfortune and Quinn, level ups with a scout attack, giving them 2 attacks per turn, and getting easy level ups so you can win. It uses Grand Plaza, and Grand Plaza allows your scouts to get stronger, such as Island Navigator and Quinn summon themselves in another unit. So they're all getting +1/+1 challenger. Puts on a lot of pressure. So this list is a bit unique right here. There's no Ranger Resolve, which could be wrong. But basically the theory is that with Go Hard out of the way, you really want to have Riposte instead against the Grand Plaza Mirrors, so they can stop the healing from Solari Sunforger. If they make a challenger with Plaza and try and attack, you can Riposte and keep it alive. So we're trying Riposte out this season instead of Ranger Resolve. I think you could even just add Ranger Resolve back in over Double Trouble if you don't want to run it. Double Trouble just go Grand Plaza. So feel free to add Ranger Resolve because it could be good in the mirror against Misfortune. But yeah, this deck just utilizes the Scout keyword to attack, and it can put on big damage. It's a really good deck. Misfortune. You want to do this deck. The mulligan is you hard mulligan your whole hand for either Misfortune or Grand Plaza, and then you try and win from there via the Misfortune or Grand Plaza. So really strong deck. I like it. It's one of my favorites of all time, and a deck I've got rank 1 with in the past. So I'm a huge advocate of it, and I'll have a YouTube video up on it soon. I already have a few if you want to go look at those, but I'll make a new one because Grand Plaza just came out. All right, the final deck for the top 5 best decks for rank. This deck I really want to learn. This version's a bit different. I haven't played with it that much, so I kind of made a more standard version. Some people are running Sunburst in this, and they're running Mountain Goat or Lunar Priestess, and they're running just other cards. But this is Zoe, Diana, Invoke. I love Zoe, and I love Diana in this game, so I'm really excited to learn this deck. And I think this deck, when Aphelios comes out, Aphelios is going to replace either Zoe or Diana in this deck, and I think this will be a tier 1 deck. This is a pretty high tier 2 deck. A lot of people are top 10 masters with it right now, and I believe, again, with Aphelios adding a whole new dynamic to the deck, this will be debatably maybe the best deck in the game. But we'll see. Well, it's all on there, but I do think it'll be tier 1. Either way, this deck's a top 5 deck to rank up with right now. It's an Invoke deck. As you guys can see, there's a lot of invoking. It utilizes Mountain Scryer. Your celestial cards cost 1 less in Allegiance Invoke. So it's just a Targon Allegiance deck that gets a huge value out of the invoking, easy level Zoe, Diana can clear threats, and then it only splashes 2 Atrocity. So again, I didn't make this original concept. This deck's been around for a bit. But you use this on your big Celestials like the Great Beyond and such, or Scourge to deal damage to the Nexus. You can even do it on this. It basically is a burst for a game, and Disguise Ascend. This is one of the key cards of the deck. It says 15 mana, deal 15 to all enemies. As we all know, you can't have 15 mana in this game. But it costs 2 less for each Dragon or Celestial you have. So it gets just kind of very fast because you're playing all kinds of cheap Celestials with Zoe and Sketcher, and you can get like the Snake and the Charger and all kinds of stuff, and have this get down to like 9 or so mana, just blow up your entire enemy field. A big part of this deck is you want to mostly, you can use the Daybreak, but you mostly want to use the Nightfall with this. Nightfall create around Dragon Follower and Celestial Follower in your hand. What you can do is you can play Nara Dustbringer, use a Dust Petal on turn 6, which discounts this by 1 because there's a Nightfall effect. You play a 7/7 Fury on 6 that gives you a Dragon and a Celestial. It's very strong. Has Hush to deal with certain things. Star Shaping is a very strong card in this format. Healing 5, and then allowing you to get a strong Invoke. You can run Solari Sunforger. The builds, that's what the original build I saw. I actually edited it. I haven't tested this deck yet. Instead of Mountain Goat and Lunar Priestess, it ran Solari Sunforger and Sunburst. So if you want the standard build, you can do that. I feel there's not really much aggro this season. Pretty much almost none. Scouts is borderline aggro, but it used to be aggro, but it's more like not mid-range. It's more like, I don't know, people combos call it mid-range. Some people still call it aggro. But besides that deck, there's really not much need for healing, and you still have 3-star shaping, so I wanted to try out. Mountain Goat for extra 2-drops, blocker, and just generically good. I think Mountain Goat's good in a meta with Zoe also, because they play Zoe on 1, you play Mountain Goat on 2. If they don't wait to block it, you can start just getting all kinds of free gems, which are nice to discard for Sketcher, and just could be good later on. With a lot of your invokes, like giving the snake 1 extra attack, so it becomes a 2-1 challenger, a 3-1 challenger, can kill bigger units. But yeah, I think this deck's really cool. I love invoking. I think it's awesome, and I love Zoe and Diana, so I'm really looking forward to learning this deck as well. And I feel that Aphelios could make this deck debatably the best deck in the game, or tier 1. Don't know if you're playstyle or Dynad, but we'll see. I'll make sure I have a top 5 extra rank, because with Aphelios on February 3rd, we are also getting a balance patch, I assume. We're getting one in February, a balance patch in February, which I assume is the same day as Aphelios. So I guess to sum up, I would just say I think the best deck in the game is Targon, Demacia, Zoe, Asol, the first deck of the video. Then I think second best, either Lee Sin or Ezreal Draven. Then third is Lee Sin or Ezreal Draven. Fourth is Scouts, and fifth is this. I think Go Hard is still pretty strong, but not tier 1 like it used to be. A lot of utility was lost from the nerf, and I think it's still a solid tier 2 deck. I think Shenfiora is decent, but it loses to Targon Demacia, and it loses to Eliza with Hush. It loses very hard to Ezreal Draven. So I don't think it's a top 5 deck, but it's somewhere in the top 10. There's also Tom Soraka is a good deck, and stuff like that. But if you enjoyed the video, pretty straightforward, clean cut to the point. I'm going to make a new guide on Scouts this week. I could have more guides on Zoe, Diana, and Lee Sin, stuff like that. So let me know what you guys want in the comments below. And I stream every single day on twitch.tv/NicMakesPlays at 6:30 p.m. EST. So I'd love to see you guys there. And yeah, I feel I always hit rank 1, and I love playing competitively. I love playing ranked, and I would love to help people level up. I also do coaching. If you're interested, you can comment below. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.